How's it going? Hi. How amazing was that? Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm Maggie Furlong from Yahoo TV, and I am a Playing House fan. It happened. It just happened. These women are amazing, and we're so lucky to have them here tonight to answer some of your questions and some of mine about the show. Let's welcome out Jessica St. Clair, Lennon Parham, and Jane Kaczmarek. Beautiful.
Hello.
Hi, guys. So since it's fresh on the brain and she looks so beautiful tonight, can we talk about Bocephus? Where, why, how? Did something horrible happen in your childhood? Like
I grew up in Georgia. That's not horrible. That's
Isn't it, though?
Isn't it? Yeah, Maggie, you're looking really nice tonight.
Dang, the top bits and the bottom bits. No, we've been trying to get Bocephus into something. When we did our first show on NBC BFF, Lennon would do this character to like entertain us in the writer's room, and we were too afraid to pitch it. We thought, who would let us put that on television, Lennon dressing as a man? And then for USA, I don't even think we told them we were going to do it. We just sort of turned in an outline.
Script?
Yeah, Bocephus. We didn't really pitch the character. We're just I hope they don't read it or something. And then
No, but it was awesome because one of our executives was like, I like Bocephus, but I'm not really sure. So all they really wanted us to do was ground it. But
it's crazy, right? What did you
I
guys
don't know,
think?
it's
Did
like-
everyone like it? We're obsessed with it, but I'm afraid.
to me, it's like
very Laverne and Shirley.
the
two.
most classic.
Or Lucy
like
and Ethel.
Lucy in this insane headdress, like walking sideways down the stairs. Like that's what this episode is, and it's just like fun.
I like that grounding it was like adding a fake mustache.
So weird.
Not just the hat with the hair.
No, but like knowing where it had come
Yes.
from, that it was from a state fair.
How about the fact that that mustache was kind of a situation to put on? So Lennon and I both have newborns that were with us on the set, and so poor Lennon's baby would just be like, "Why?" Like was that like
my
literally
daughter
like
learned that was her first word was why. No. I brought her in because she loved watching me get my makeup done. So I would come and bring her and she would sit on my lap, and I was like, I wanted her to see the transformation so that she wouldn't be terrified, because I was going to look like him for 2 days.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be breastfeeding her and have her like
weird.
reject me,
I mean, you breastfed with a mustache. And
I
then
did.
trucked
She
it back
did.
in there.
She did.
Putting that out there.
I wish that was the weirdest place we breastfed her.
With
but
a
that's
mustache?
just not true.
No.
Talk about a little bit how this show came about. I mean, obviously BFFs was very near and dear to you guys, but this one seems as much, if not more so. Talk about I always think y'all's writing process is so much fun. A lot of you guys might not know, but it's interesting as actors working with other writers that they get to do it both. Break it down, because Jane has seen the final product in action, and even she said, you don't see scripts like this very often. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that.
Jane's also seen our areolas, truth be told. She was like,
Let's keep it classy.
how many times do I have to see you girls topless
Keep it
before we're
classy.
done?
Because they were nursing. They had their breast pumps on
You're constantly.
frequently. But I had 2 babies during Malcolm and was breast pumping during Malcolm. So it seemed like that's just what you do.
Yeah.
You go to do a sitcom and you pump breast milk. So I felt very at home seeing
You don't
you
get
guys.
cast unless you're pumping breast
That's-
milk.
that was
That's
Yeah.
right.
But at one point we were like, we were pumping and giving notes on a cut and getting our hair done, like at one point, and Jane was like, this is too much. I mean, what's the end game here?
I was so blown away by these 2. First, that they came up with these characters, that they are who they are, that they wrote it, produced it, were acting in it. But the one morning coming into hair and makeup, and it was early, as it often is, starting probably 5:30 or 6, and they were having their hair and makeup done and had the breast pumps attached. And you hear that, if anyone... It's like being in a milking parlor. And they had their computers on their laptops, and they were editing
It's so
the
weird.
episodes. And I thought... And it was just, this is what we do in the morning at 5:30. It took multitasking to a whole nother level.
And I have to say, the way we got Jane to do it, you may be thinking to yourselves, why would somebody of such
High caliber.
high
comedy.
caliber sign on for this insanity? But when we wrote this part, and the way we write is because we started as improvisers, we learned how to be comedians at this place called the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater that Amy Poehler and Matt Besser, Ian Roberts, and Matt Walsh founded in New York. At any rate, we didn't know how to write. So what we do is we act out all the parts. We tape record ourselves like psychos, and then we transcribe that, and that becomes the first draft of the script.
Yeah, because because we're performers first, we didn't really know how to access the dialogue in like a real way without just acting it out. We've been doing that for many, many years, just making it up out of our heads. So that just seemed like the easiest way to access it.
That's why I think the rhythms are so realistic and so specific to the two of you.
Yeah.
I was sent the pilot of this to watch, and everyone was, well, this is it's going to be a little show, and it's not a big network show, so the money they can pay you is not. I said, this was the funniest thing and the most unique voice. And it was just funny in the way sitcoms used to be funny. They were people in situations from which comedy ensued. It wasn't some sexual gag. It wasn't some body part that was being, it was something I could watch with my children. And I know I'm sounding like my mother in saying that, but I was very happy to find something that I was really proud to be a part of. I could watch with my children, and I was so happy when you guys asked me to come on.
We wrote her.
We wrote her.
So anyway, we would improvise with Jane in mind. So Lennon would do like a Jane Kaczmarek impression to me. This is way before we could even dream of having her.
You can't say that without.
I know,
maybe.
but
I'd like to
it's
see
showing
that.
it.
it's pretty good.
No.
Well, no, I would do Jane as Gwen.
Yes.
So it would be like, well, I was hiding from you. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
I was the original hider.
I was the
Yeah.
original. Yeah. Good day, daughter.
Yeah. So
Because when I read her, I kind of thought, how would Jessica Walters say this line?
Yeah.
Kind of remind me of the mom on nowhere near as arch as on Arrested
Oh,
Development.
Yeah.
Arrested,
But
yes.
she was heightened in a way. That
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and then we wrote Jane a letter that you would get from maybe a stalker that
but it was from two nursing mothers.
to talk
Yes.
about how we were going to dress you in pedal pushers, and it was like really
Bleeding,
weird. And we were like,
bleeding.
well, she'll either put out a restraining order or she'll accept the job, and she accepted the job
Did
anyway.
you tell her in this letter that she'd be like a Felicia Rashad beat poet as well? Because that episode, I hope everybody in here saw that. But it was a highlight, I think, Jane, for your career. Not to say anything of everything else, but oh my God,
Well,
you're a good.
And there were
little
so
slam
many
poetry.
takes. You don't know how many
my
takes.
God.
We had her do, and she did it differently each and every time, and it was so weird, the pauses. She'd have a 5-minute pause in between words that just killed us.
Wait for it.
Yeah.
Wait for it. On Malcolm, we were on such a short leash. We said we had to stay exactly to the text. We had to make it word perfect. And Linwood Boomer, who was the executive producer, was those episodes were so tightly
To time,
and finally
probably, too,
honed.
yeah.
They had written them weeks before we filmed them, and they knew exactly what they wanted. So Bryan Cranston and I were pretty much, we prided ourselves on being able to say, how do you want this? I can do that. Instead of,
Right.
I'm working with these two, and I'm thinking, well, so how do you want me to?
Yeah, no, and we don't know.
I don't know.
Just do it. It'll be different every time.
And it was wonderful fun.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful fun.
What we do, in addition to Jane, we're lucky enough to come from a community of improvisers. So we basically just cast all our best friends. Like Zach Woods and I were on an improv team together when he was 17 years old. So I know.
Used to take the bus in from New Jersey.
And Jason Mantzoukas, all these kind of UCB guys and
Bobby Moynihan.
we were on an improv team together, did ASCAT together for 1,000 years. So it's like we just call them and say, we wrote a part for you, you have to do it. And they're like, okay, my break is next week. And we're like, done. You know?
It's
So
very
that's
like
been really
old.
lucky.
It feels like community theater somewhat. And my parents, my parents who came to see me, like when I told them I was going to be a comedian, they were like, "What are you taught? What? Like your ancestors came from Ireland for this shit? Like this is like some bullshit, Jessica." I'm like, "I know." And then they would come to this theater that smelled real bad, and all of the chairs were broken. And then and so then when they came to set, they were like, "I cannot believe you guys are all employed and you're all employing each other." Like I remember this guy, Bobby, you know, like taking our tickets. You know what I mean? And
we were actually shooting this episode, which you guys are gonna love, which is basically a Magic Mike style strip show that the cops put on. Keegan, Michael Key, Bobby Moynihan, Ian Roberts. They all take their clothes off.
these are men
and
you never thought you'd see with all of their clothes off.
and my friend Eugene Cordero, who I did improv with for thousands of
Plays the
years,
DJ.
was the DJ, and we had peopled the audience with all these like young up and coming
Girls
comedians
from
from the UCB. So it was like he just was like, I look out and I see like 30 people that I know that you guys are giving jobs to, and I like almost burst into tears because
Right, but then we're telling Ian Roberts,
to
like,
fuck that woman's face harder.
yeah, we're like, the man who taught us how to improvise, you know, we're like, could you really give it to her face? And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, we're really living a dream.
Maybe I can't watch this with my kids.
We didn't say those words.
It's always
You
implied.
don't say
Oh,
those.
too soon. That's next week.
Yeah.
But
Thrusting.
there is a level of like watching this show and seeing those guest stars come on, and it's not just guest stars on a sitcom. They're actually getting fun stuff to do, and I think that's what comes from writing for
and
these
I
people.
think you see that there is a short that you guys have known each other. I mean, I get the sense of watching this. You guys have known each other. When you and Mark are high school sweethearts, I totally believe you guys have known each other for 20 years. Or,
Right.
You know, and Zach, the first day I said, who is that guy?
Genius.
He's the most brilliant. And it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we've known him since he was 17. You know,
He
used to ride the
never
bus from New
breaks.
Jersey.
He never
breaks.
And he comes in with like 17 alternate endings that like, I don't know when he cooked it up, but like he makes our job so
he
easy.
works. I know for a fact because I've rehearsed auditions with him. He like works so hard on his work. Like he is.
He's
so,
like the Daniel Day-Lewis
yeah.
of comedians.
He is.
Yeah,
it is my
serious.
left foot every day with him.
Yeah,
it is.
it's weird. It's
Somebody
really
tweet
weird.
that at Zach Woods. He'll be real excited right now.
He's not on Twitter.
not on
He's a
Twitter.
sweet,
He's from
sweet
the olden
man.
days.
He is.
He really is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, he really is.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So for an episode like this very special episode,
Yeah.
how far is the leash for you guys that you
That USA allows us?
that you allow yourselves? Do you ever like look at each other and be like, too far, too
Well,
far?
I'll tell you that during that scene where we're on a date at Jandana, it was a real hot, long day. This one was acting like a real pill. I mean,
That was my part.
Bocephus was rude. And
Yeah.
by like hour 3, I was like, you know what? I've had enough. And she's like, God damn it, woman, I work hard. I'm like, you know, so like when you see me be like, that's enough, I'm being
That was really
serious.
Jessica being like, that's enough.
I mean,
And
we
I'm
have
like, I need
hours.
another take.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Jesus
It was
Christ.
hot that day. It was really hot that day.
Yeah, but we mostly like, you know, we have the script. It's already been improvised, so you know, in that way, we feel like we have a lot of our best stuff. But we especially with this show, we've let ourselves really have fun because maybe we're just too tired to like be in our heads
Yeah.
about it. You know?
Well, something that I've also found remarkable watching you guys was that being friends, being women, and I'm sorry to say that because oftentimes the stereotype is that women are going to share information with each other in a different way. But you guys would say to each other, you know, when you just, I like it better when you said the line like this, and the other will say, really? Okay, well, oh, right, do it. No, you know what, I didn't. I think, okay, the respect between the two of you and the fact that you never said to each other, oh, you know what, I'm really sorry, but I really liked it better when you did it. Is that okay? I know you guys were so, it was like you were a new gender. You weren't, you were like alien comedians.
Yeah.
You could say, I think it's funnier this way, and this is why, and
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Let's try it that way. Oh, no, I don't agree. All right, let's go back. It was so,
It's just about the comedy. I think that's
that was
yeah.
remarkable.
Well, like at the UCB, Amy Poehler was a really great mentor in that she was like, she would teach you, like, you don't improvise as a woman, you just are funny. Like, what's funny is funny. And all those guys who we kind of learned to be comedians with, I don't think they
that's
see us as
interesting.
women. I mean, to the
Well, I
point where we
remember-
couldn't have gotten a date if we'd tried.
Well, thank God we were already with people when we got there. But no,
It's true.
And because Lennon
It's
plays
true.
a man like a lot.
I do.
You play a man
I
a
love
lot.
playing a man.
Yeah.
I love it. There's like a wild abandon. that
She's
comes with
always
it.
a man. Every time we're on stage,
I always
when we
play a
improvise,
man.
like at the UCB, you're constantly
Sometimes I play
Albanian
like
or
a-
like Croatian or some
Yeah.
Slavic descent.
I love being a Slavic man. What can I say?
Yeah, like you're always like a janitor who's like got a little too big for his britches. Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. I have recently played a big
Yeah.
bitch janitor. No, but what I was going to say is when I first started improvising, I had to learn a lesson very quickly, which was because it's improv and none of it's scripted, it's whoever steps out first is in the scene, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to attack the stage. And
you're real
cannot-
polite.
And I'm from Georgia. Again, we've established that. But I, again, was like, I'm always opening the door for people. I'm like, no, you first. If I'm at Tender Greens and somebody needs to get their Brussels sprouts before me, I'm like, have at it. I'm not in a hurry. Do you know what I mean? But if you don't
Never in a
attack,
hurry.
if you don't attack the stage, you're not ever gonna do a scene, right? And so I just, you have to get over yourself about being polite in your career, right? And just go for it. Because if you
Yeah.
don't, I mean, and that's the same way we are in our writer's room. That's the way when we write, when we write stuff, we're just like, you don't have to apologize for your opinion about what you think is good or not good. And
No,
I just
and
feel
what's
like, I don't
funny
think that's
wins.
funny.
Yeah, what's
And-
funny always
Yeah.
wins. And when we do each other's shows, like when we, I played Andy Daly's wife on Review. This show.
See, go
Review at
watch
Fourth
that show
Mill.
if you
Oh
haven't
my God,
seen it.
It's
it's
so
funny in it.
amazing.
But you show up and you're like, I am here to make your show the funniest. So whatever you need me to do, you tell
Yeah.
me. Where
Well, and
there's
that's
no
a good
ego.
question because, like, Lennon did Mad Men, which is sort of the exact opposite of
Yeah.
come and play and jump in and steal the scene and do your
Right,
thing.
right.
It's like, this is exactly what you're going to say in this exact tone. How does it kind of alter the way you are when you go and do all these other shows? Because not just this amazing
Well,
show, but
I
y'all are
just
in
recently,
demand.
Mad Men was an amazing
Dream.
experience. And I showed up at the audition. I was like 5 months pregnant. I had it in my mind. I was definitely not getting the job because I was like, I'm fat. Like, look at me. Like, they want, and I read the script and I was like, oh, it's a New York real estate woman. I was like, it's supposed to be older than me. I was like 1,000 ways I'm not getting this job, which actually allowed me to kind of nail it. You know, when you go in and you don't care or you're having a bad morning, it's like when you haven't had an audition for 3 months, you go in and you blow it because it means so much. So if you can get to the point where every audition doesn't matter, it's good. So
When you're so broken.
yeah. So I showed up. I think we were, I don't remember. Oh, I was like moving. All this stuff was happening. And I showed up and I walked in and Matt Weiner was there. And it was like not a call. It was like an audition with him. And I was like, oh, I should have prepared for this better. Yeah. And then I did it. And then I did what I always do, which is I improvise on top of the lines and put a button on it to make it funnier. And he was like, you know what the script is, right? Can you just say that? And I was
Yeah.
like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so then I got real nervous, and then I did it again just to script and, like, held back, like, all
You
with
don't
all
know,
my power
yeah.
at the very end. I was like, no, don't button it. Don't say the, like, last one word. And then they called, and I had gotten it. And I was like, no way did I get it. And also all my outfits were, like, triangle shaped, so you couldn't see I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Which was
And
great
fur coats,
at the time.
ermine coats.
But then at the table read, this was an amazing thing too, and we were about to go into being our bosses of our own show, and it's important to me to be a good boss because I feel like it trickles down for sure. He came in, everybody was like hugging each other and so happy to be there. They had just gotten nominated for a SAG award, the cast, and so he recognized them and he spoke as if it were the first table read ever, and everybody was like listening and reverent. And then he was like, and now we're going to introduce ourselves. And it's season 7 or something.
But
and
everybody-
every person went around and said, I'm John Hamm and I play Don Draper. And around to craft service, like every person in the room. And it just made you feel like it matters. Everybody's job matters. And,
Yeah.
and I could feel that. And you just kind of carry that respect with you into what you're doing.
I
Anyway.
love hearing that. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's good for everybody's going to
Well,
go home and
we-
get pregnant and stop caring about
I
auditions.
know. But we
Fantastic.
on Malcolm, Brian and I were in our 40s when Malcolm came along, and we had been guest stars on so many other people's shows, and you always, so often you go to another show and nobody introduces themselves. You just, it's so uncomfortable. And Brian and I said, let's always, we always went and introduced ourselves to the guest stars. We had hats made, and we always gave the guest star a hat at the end of the show, and no one ever got a hat unless they were a guest star on the show. But, you know, you remember how awkward you felt on so many jobs. And that now that you're in a position to, you know, you remember how important that is to just make other actors, everybody, just feel like, we're so happy you're here, and thank you for being here.
That's what's nice about doing 5 lines on every single show you can get yourself on, because you get to like dip into these
to see
different
other-
cultures, you know what I mean, and say like, oh, if I ever have my own thing, this
That's-
is what I do, or this is
that's
what I
right.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it shows. It's a happy set. All right,
Oh.
we've got a question from the audience. Ty
Yes.
Brown, raise your hand. Hi, Ty. So for all of you, how did you get your first healthy actress-agent relationship? Was it through a showcase or a referral, or how?
Healthy is
Healthy
a
is
key
a good
word,
one. That's a
right?
good
Interesting
one.
that
Ty's got stories, guys. We'll get to that after the show.
You know, in New York when we were at the UCB, we put together like a sketch show. My first writing partner, Jason Mantzoukas, and I, and he's in our show tonight. He's in Playing House tonight. But we put up a 2-person sketch show to sort of show somebody, we didn't have any names yet, what we could do. And then we like this is back in the day of fax machines. We obsessively, he was working at JP Morgan as like a temp, and he would like take over a fax machine, and we would just fax these flyers to our show. And then I would call, because I have a really good like, hi, I'd like to speak with Randall. You know, and they would like put me through to the agent, and I'd be like, oh, hey, Randy, it's Jessica. They'd be like, security? And I'd be like, no, hold up. Hey, Randy, do you like comedy? But anyway, I got a hold of one of the assistants, and I begged her to come to the show. And she literally sat in the audience with like 30 other homeless people we'd flyered in Washington Square Park. And she loved it, and then she got promoted to be an agent, and we were her first clients that she signed. So a lot of times these assistants who are really passionate can become really wonderful agents, and she was my first agent, Hannah Roth at Don Buchwald Associates, and she was like such a fabulous part of my life, and so that's how I did it. But I think putting yourself in a position that you can really show them what you do and how you can be funny or dramatic or whatever it is that your skill is, I think is the best thing if you can find that home.
I had a really good commercial relationship. I had a commercial agent who saw me again do a character, and it wasn't like something that would ever be on television. I did like a solid gold reject dancer. So she was an understudy on Solid Gold and had never actually performed, but then she went on to be...
She was teaching
She
children.
was teaching pre-K through 3rd graders like terribly inappropriate
and
dance
drinking
moves,
heavily.
and drinking wine out of a box like underneath it. Anyway, and she broke her pelvis during the... But it made her laugh. So she was like, I love you, come in and meet with everybody. And I was like, okay. And so then I just went and I met and had... and then afterwards, I heard that she had come, and I sent her a note, and I said, "Thank you so much for coming." And then she called me in from that.
I think thank you notes
yeah,
are a
that's-
big
Thank
thing.
you, handwritten thank
we
you
still
notes.
write thank you notes to everyone who comes on our show or helps us out in any way. We write a little handwritten note.
Yeah.
True.
That being said, I've not written a thank you note for any of my baby shower gifts, and the baby is now 8 months old.
Neither have I, and my baby's over a year. So. But
F you
my
guys.
my legit
Thanks,
agent.
thanks for those. Yeah. Will
has-
you write some for me while you're sitting there?
But I had a bad manager who I had to fire. Who when I was 32, I'm 38 now, was like, Lennon, you're a risk. And I was like, I'm 32, okay, and I'm at my prime comedy, like right now. I'm about to be a character actress, and you need to get in on the ground floor. But I knew that, like
Lennon is an only child, so she has such confidence. It's unnerving.
But when somebody tells you that, it's really easy to be like, you know what, you're right. I should stay with you. You know, because what they wanted was to sign a 3-year contract, and I thankfully had a friend named Jack McBrayer who was on 30 Rock for thousands of years, and he was like, Lennon, don't you sign that contract. And I was like, but who else is going to represent me? He was like, you would be better to not be represented at all than to be with that toxicity in your life. And so I left her. 2 months later, came to LA and did my one-woman show, Solid Gold Dancer and all, and got with CAA. So, you know, you got to open yourself up for, you don't want that negativity on you, you know? Jane?
Well, I started as an actress, you know, a million years ago when things were so different. I went to Yale School of Drama, and in those days, you know, Meryl Streep had graduated a few years before I did. So that was kind of agents came up and saw everything we did. So actually, I was doing Long Day's Journey into Night, everyone's favorite Eugene O'Neill 4-hour play.
That's a real laugher.
Oh, it
That's
was a laugh
laugher.
riot. And I had an agent when I was in drama school, but it's amazing to think of how different this is now. You know, we wore Laura Ashley dresses and tried to look noble, you know, to get agents.
Yeah.
And I want pictures of that.
You know, and you did scenes from Ibsen and stuff like that. It was now, what these guys do and putting yourself out there and saying, no, that's not good enough for me, I'm waiting for something else. It's a whole new world. And God bless you for taking a step into it, because what they said, I mean, you really have to believe yourself and put yourself out there, and don't do Eugene O'Neill for anybody.
Don't put that on YouTube, you know?
Yeah, that shouldn't be your one submission to anybody.
You know what I wanted to say too, that one thing as an actor that I took with me from being an executive producer and on Best Friends Forever, watching auditions, we watched auditions on our iPhones in between takes. We literally make a decision based on what the person looks like and the first 3 lines out of their mouth. So like, it's just let yourself off the hook a little bit. Like,
And it
so
doesn't
then I
have to
went-
be perfect. Like,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
mess
yeah.
up a
If
line,
you mess up,
who cares?
Like, if
Like,
the energy is there, if you're relaxed, if you make whatever it is funny, that's all you need to do. Don't think about what we want. Think about what you can bring to it.
we also do not care about somebody's credits. Like, you know, like a guy that we cast, and we knew he was from, we like to know if it's a comedy role that they've been around a comedy theater.
Yeah.
But this one guy he's in tonight's episode, put himself on tape and all his...
He was on his Thanksgiving break when he got the call for the audition.
Yeah, he was in Chicago.
So we had like his sister put him on tape.
And his part was to do skinny dip and do a cannonball into a pool. He cannonballed into his parents' jacuzzi in like 30 below weather in red tight like briefs. And I was like,
And then
yes, please, yes, we must have him.
Pretty much, pretty much.
And he was amazing.
I mean, that's not for every role. We don't, like, we didn't cast Keegan that way. You know what I mean? But
No, but the lovely man who plays the stripper, the actual stripper, he was a real stripper for several years, and he sent us
footage of that.
footage of him giving it to a girl at her bachelorette, and I said,
did.
yes, please.
we needed to see that to
And
make
he
our
was a
decision,
gentleman
am I right?
and a scholar, a wonderful man.
He
He
was.
was. And a
He-
wonderful father of a 5-year-old, and we loved him. And
This
and
guy-
he covered himself, his naked body with spaghetti, and he didn't. And take after take, professional.
This is all tonight.
This
Tonight?
No,
is
not tonight.
Oh, a
It's
lot of
not.
people get
It's a
naked
lot.
tonight, and then in a couple episodes they take their clothes off again.
What more can you tease about the rest of the episodes for this first season? 'Cause so far we've gotten some gold.
The
Tonight we
birth,
get
the birth
Marching
episode
Band? Oh,
is
that's the big
really
buildup.
special. Yeah, we had both. So Lennon was 8.5 months pregnant for real in the pilot.
And Jess was secretly 3 months, like before you tell people pregnant.
Right, so I was throwing up in like every bush from here to, Pasadena, really. It was not pleasant. In fact, once we were going back to our trailer and Michael Key was walking next to me, and I hadn't even told him I was pregnant, and all of a sudden I was like, I'm gonna throw up on him. So I just turned to him and I went, Keegan, run away from me, run as fast as you can. And he just took off running.
Well, you're never supposed to negate an improv, right? An improv.
Yes, and.
You can't say no.
Yes, and.
And then I threw up. Anyway,
So for our birth episode, it was surprising to me how important it was to like tell like a real birth story. We had just been through it. We both had just had babies. So like we wanted it to be as real as possible because I've been in a show where there was a birth before and it was like everybody's singing Salt and Pepper and it was like, here comes the baby and the baby's perfect and everybody's singing and it like doesn't feel at all that way.
No, it doesn't.
If you've ever had a baby or been around a woman who's had a baby.
So we hired a consultant to help us like have it be, medically as real. Now the only difference is, do you guys know who Garcelle Beauvais is? This beautiful, this woman is stunning.
Stunning.
She's our OBGYN. So everyone wants her on the receiving end of their business, I'll be honest, whether or not you're having a baby. But she was phenomenal. But at any rate, everyone, it was, and we wrote the episode the night before I gave birth.
We had broken it earlier, but we basically like turned in our final draft.
And then the baby
And then
came.
Jessica went into labor that night.
And weirdly enough, the exact same thing that happens in the birth episode happened to me the next day. And I'm going to tell you what.
No
Not
Garcelle.
No Garcelle. And I'll tell you what. I turned to my husband. I'm like, I'm going to tell you this. This isn't funny at all. Nothing is funny about this. They were like, oh, and you can't have an epidural. I was like, well, I'll be dead by the time you come back. So.
But then when we got to do the actual table read of it, which was after Jess was back from maternity leave, we were reading it out loud and we're all crying. It's sort of sweet and funny and all of these things in one. And Jessica reads the scene with Keegan where she tells him like that I'm the most awesome person in the world. I pushed it out of me and how the baby was and how big she was
like,
and what she looked like and bright eyes. And she was like, ah. And afterwards, I was like, wow, Jess, can you believe we wrote this before you had your baby? Because it's literally
The story.
her birth. It was literally her birth.
It was weird.
And she was like, we did not write that before. I was like, when do you think
memory.
we wrote it? When did we write it if we didn't write it before you had the baby because you just came back? And so it was like kind of bizarre. But anyway, when you watch it, you can feel that, I think.
Yeah. All the crew, we also had a really nice thing where at 6:30 we would all go home for bath time, right, Jane? So we would start screaming at around 5, like, guys, my tits are going to explode. Everybody needs to get their shit together. And we need to get wrapped. And so we would just because we had to get home to feed the babies. And what was nice about that is like all of our crew then, we got to see our families. So it was a very happy.
Which is unbelievable to have that. And having them be the producers, along with being the writers and the actresses, being producers and nursing mothers, you knew they were looking at that clock. And it was, when there were things like, can we do another one? What do we have? No, we cannot do another one. We're moving on. That was great.
We got it.
And you think, when those priorities are right, you realize that what you've got in the can was pretty darn good, and we can work with that because we all have families and we all want to get home.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody could believe this. They said, you break at 6:30?
No. I said it could not be done.
You did it.
It's why you have, not to
Say it.
put anything,
Say it,
but
Jane.
I can't
Say it out
believe
loud.
this. I can't believe what it is, the decision making, the creativity, the humor, and the camaraderie from having women in charge is.
Jane is like a late in life women's studies major. She's just gonna give it all up.
She is
and
Felicia
teach it
Rashad. She's deep. She goes deep.
Well, no, but you know what? It's been. I'm an industry veteran now. I started acting on television in 1982. The Paper Chase. Shows that there were very few women on crews directing. And it is remarkable to see what is possible and what these guys have really ushered in. And I just want to tell you that.
Oh, Jane. She's so sweet.
I feel like you guys answered this, but I wanted to give a shout out. Tinseltown Mom Blog did ask the transition back to work after having a baby, but I feel like that's a lot. You guys did a lot.
Oh my God.
Yes. I will tell you, I was the first one to go through it, and I was worried that if I let her know how hard it was, that she would think I was going to want to never work again. Do you know what I
So
mean?
she would like cry secretly in her car. I didn't know how hard it was.
And then she got pissed off at me that I didn't tell her how hard it was when it was that hard for her.
Yeah.
But I think every mom has a really different experience, and I think you cannot tell a person how they're going to go through it. You can't tell a partner how they're going to experience it with that person. Like, for me, I said, I think I'm going to need at least, because we knew we were coming back to work on July 1st. So I knew I was going to have the baby. I was due May 6th. So I was like, I need 8 weeks. That's what I think I need before I have the baby. And then she came a little early, so I had 10 weeks with her. The first day we went back was the writer's room, and I was so excited to be there. It was the first, maybe the second day I'd had a nanny, so someone else with my baby when I'd been spending 24/7 with her. That night I went home. I sobbed so much into my husband's shoulder. I was like, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. But then it got easier. Every day got easier, and I was happy to have work.
And I was amazed how how focused you were. Like, when you're in the writer's room, you would forget that you had, were having that kind of drama with yourself. Like
You
were
would
just,
forget that.
I would. You wouldn't, but you were really good at being like there. Because if
Yeah.
you're gonna be there, you might as well be there
there.
100%. And then when you go and see the baby, be there 100%.
Yeah.
But in our writer's room, we made sure that we worked only from 9 to 5, and then we had an hour for lunch so we could go down and see the babies. We're lucky to get
You
to
were
bring them to
pregnant
work.
during the writer's room.
Yeah, I was
So
just
that
busy
for
shoving my
shooting.
face full of chocolate.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I can't remember. My mommy
it's
brain.
hard.
Mommy brain.
It's super hard.
That happens too. Can we break down a scene? I think we've got a scene that they were going to roll, and you guys were going to kind of
Oh, break it down.
break it down.
Okay.
Can we do that? Here it goes. I mean, there are no questions. Go. What?
I felt like this scene was a mixture of like the usual suspects.
Yeah.
And what's the movie The Women with
Oh,
with-
Norma Shearer.
Go crazy.
Norma Shearer and Joan.
With Joan Crawford, yes, yeah.
Jungle
I
Red.
don't know.
She steals the husband.
Yeah.
And you never see any of the men in it. It's only the
Exactly,
women. It's Claire Booth Loose.
Yeah, it's real
A
weird.
play, I'm sure.
But yeah, we had a blast shooting that. Jane was like, I mean, we
But
can't
I
even.
was that especially the ending when you started saying, I'm gonna eat them dry as a goddamn bone. I was sitting there thinking, can they do this? Is that what?
too weird.
Can you say this? And
Okay,
you were like,
Jan.
drink some water. And I thought, this wasn't on the page. They just started goofing around like this, and it seemed so funny and so spontaneous in this unique world of humor that they live in. But it was very much fun to just watch them go back and forth what they were going to say now. And somebody had asked earlier, does it ever go too far? And there were times where it just got
To unusable.
Too melodramatic, and they were like, Jessica, that voice you're using is making us all feel sick. I'm like, okay.
But they would take it back and forth. But it's such a true and unusual voice on television. And
Thanks.
anyway, I'm gonna.
And
stop
then
adorning them for a
my
while.
mother actually does kayak while drinking, and so she called from
she?
Pleasant Lake, New Hampshire, and she was just like, "Thanks for the shout out." P.S. That Jane Kaczmarek is a class act. Click, and like that's like I get that every
I
week.
love your mom.
Well, that photograph, the photograph, two of us.
Photo's amazing.
Oh,
The
yeah.
second
What
she
about
sees it.
kayak on a
Just in a
sawhorse
yeah.
or something?
And there were so many. You guys took like 80 photographs at 6
It was
a.m.
fun. It was really fun.
Good
Like
life.
selfies.
drinking together on the kayak. Yeah, it was crazy.
It was really, really fun.
Yeah. And Lennon does make a mean wassail. I have a bizarre olden days Christmas party we've hosted, and Lennon will stew up her
Nobody
weird.
knows. You guys
You know what a wassail?
There we
You know,
go,
that's-
wassailing
Yeah, it's like
among
a
the
you
seven.
pour a bunch of like
It's a
punch.
Christmas warm
It's
drink.
like a white trash Southern drink that
It's
she calls
not white
wassail.
trash. It's British.
Kind of is though. Get real about it, because you were just like, here's
Nobody-
a bunch of fruit punch, and I'm just gonna put it in this thing and stew it up.
I don't think you paid any attention, and you didn't You didn't turn your shoulder at me when I fixed your lemon bars.
That's true. That's true.
All right.
Did you roast a couple chestnuts?
I thought of what I was going to say. Can I share it now?
Okay.
So the thing that I feel like as a mom, and I don't know if you feel this way at all, but since I've had a baby, I feel much clearer. I feel like distilled down into the kind of good parts of me, and all of the sort of anxiety and crap that I did not need, that I do not have time for anymore because I'm too busy taking care of another human being, goes away.
Like worrying about, will other people think this is funny? We kind of are so tired. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh well.
And I went on an audition, like I remember my first audition that I went on, and I was like it was like crazy to be out of the house for longer than 90 minutes. And it was an audition for Fargo, which was an important thing to me. And I just kind of like worked on it, did it, left, and didn't think about it again, which has never happened to me, like with an audition. I always like, oh, why didn't I do this better? Why didn't I do like this? And none of that is helpful or beneficial at all. And the minute I walk in the door, I see your face, and I'm like, forget everything. You know what I mean? So that's the good stuff about being a mom. It just like gives you immediate perspective on what's important, I guess.
Well,
Are you gonna be on Fargo?
No.
She didn't
I would
get it,
have already gotten murdered by
but
now.
she didn't care.
Everybody dies.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jen?
Well, I had an 18-month-old when we started Malcolm, and was pregnant the first season of Malcolm, and then had another baby season 3. But I think that character was completely, because I thought, I don't want to sit here and yell at these kids on this show. I got my own kids at home. No, we're not going to do that again. You got it. Let's move on. You know, that this kind of Lois of being this woman of dispatch was really formed by having my own children at home who I wanted to go home to.
Yeah. Yeah, after we did BFF and, got our hearts broken, it was like a real call, because I was like waiting for the right time to have a family or to make that, like when you're in your life and you're waiting for someone else to tell you when it's the right time to do. And after that happened, I was like, no, I'm getting pregnant. I'm making these moves. I've always wanted to be a mom. Everybody can work around me, and then that's what happened.
Yeah.
So,
And Jess, didn't you say Julie Louis-Dreyfus told you to have a kid?
This
Yeah,
I
is
mean, if
rich.
we're gonna name drop, I
This
think
is
we
classic.
is rich.
Lennon had been telling me to get pregnant, God knows how long, and I'm like, "Ugh, I'll do it when I want to, shut up. And then I did Nicole Holofcener's movie, just a short scene in it where Julie Louis-Dreyfus
Enough
massaged me for like 6 hours. And it was,
The worst job
she's the
ever.
most beautiful woman in the world. She's the nicest woman, but she really cuts to the chase. And she was just like, what's the deal? You gonna have kids? And I'm like, I don't know, Elaine. Like, I was like freaking out. I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just have to wait for the right time in my career. She goes, oh yeah, you're really gonna miss that guest star you'll be not doing on Gary Unmarried? And I was like, you're right. And she goes, get off the pill tonight. And I was like, okay. So as a joke, I said to my husband, like, oh my God, Julie Louis-Dreyfus told me to go. So he goes, okay. So then, anyway, I got her pregnant immediately because I'm from, the Irish stock. And when I did Veep later with her, I showed up and I'm like, bitch, I am pregnant. I was like, this is not good timing. And she goes, I don't care. Have it, drop it off at my doorstep, and I'll raise it as my own.
I mean, does that offer still stand?
Yeah,
she could help
so
you with
sometimes
the
I
sex
text her like pictures of my baby, and she'll be like, "Be there in 5." Like she just like means it. She will raise it. But she was like, but she seriously did say like, listen, life is about more than just your job.
And
you gotta
also,
live
like,
it.
you gotta live life in order to write about
Yeah.
it, be in it, observe
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to put your stink out there.
No one wants your stink.
Get stinky, y'all.
Get stinky in it.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Get
On
stinky.
that note,
Class acts. Hashtag class acts.
Hashtag get stinky.
totes cool. Yeah, it's stinky. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie,
Thank you
for
guys
having us. Thank you, everybody.
And seriously, keep watching Playing House.
Please
Love
watch and
it.
tell your friends.
Everyone. It's such a good, like, I write about TV for a living, and there are so few shows that can make you laugh and make you happy and make you feel like you know these assholes, and I said it. I feel like I do. Watch it. Tell everybody.
Yeah, tweet at us, would you?
Oh, they
All
love
right.
their jammers. Thank you,
right.
guys.
Bye.